As many leaders seek to return to an in-person workplace, employees increasingly desire a remote, flexible future of work. This is particularly true amongst racially minoritized employees. For example, a recent Slack survey found that 97% of Black knowledge workers want the future of the office to be remote or hybrid, compared to 75% of white knowledge workers. This work aims to investigate the psychological mechanisms behind this difference in order to better understand how to guide leaders in their aim to structure an inclusive future of work. Initial pilot evidence from our lab revealed that racially minoritized employees feel a greater sense of control and agency giving presentations to their colleagues in a virtual work environment, whereas this difference did not exist for white participants. This research will follow up on this work by examining the question, how does the virtual work context shape agency and self-presentation in the workplace amongst racially minoritized employees, and what are the consequences of this for employee well-being? We hypothesize that racially minoritized employees, but not white employees, are more likely to feel a greater sense of agency in a virtual work context versus an in-person work context, and that this sense of agency will have positive consequences for their work-related stress and anxiety. Given the increased scrutiny directed towards racially minoritized versus white employees' self-presentation in the workplace, we theorize that this increased sense of agency is dependent on racially minoritized employees' greater capacity to exert control over their self-presentation in a virtual work context versus an in-person work context, and that this control over their self-presentation is really key to unlocking the affective benefits of a virtual workspace. Thus, we expect that racially minoritized employees who have greater capacity to exert control over their self-presentation, such as turning their cameras off, will feel a greater sense of agency and in turn less work-related stress when working virtually compared to racially minoritized employees whose self-presentation options are constrained. This research project will employ a mixed methods design. First, we plan to survey Black, Asian, Latinx, and white employees about their self-presentation practices and sense of agency in remote versus in-person work contexts. Next, we plan to conduct an experiment testing the effects of having more versus less control over one's self-presentation in a virtual workplace on racially minoritized employees' sense of agency and workplace stress and anxiety. Lastly, we plan to triangulate the mechanism driving these results in qualitative interviews with racially minoritized hybrid workers, asking them to share their experiences of working in the virtual versus in-person workplace and their motivations for their self-presentation patterns. We contribute here to a budding literature on the future of work and self-presentation theory by examining the effects of self-presentation practices in the virtual workplace on agency and employee well-being. In addition, this work provides guidance to managers looking to structure this remote or hybrid workplace in an inclusive manner. My team will include Dr. Michael Kraus, an expert on racial inequality in the workplace, as well as Dr. Cydney Dupree, an expert on interracial self-presentation. I myself am a fifth-year doctoral student in organizational behavior at the Yale School of Management with experience conducting mixed method studies and expertise in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you for your consideration of this work.